everyone. Thanks for coming today. What you are watching is the live webinar by hktdc.com sourcing. And the topic today is a really interesting topic. It's called the broad trend in supply chain and outlook 2023. So it's nearly to the end of 2022. So it's a time to have an outlook to see what's going on in next year. And the topics today is more about the AI and also the blockchain, about the big data. Previously, we talked a lot of things about supply chain and sustainability to help every one of us, to help all the people join our webinars to understand what's the trend, what's the sourcing trend, the supply chain, and also all the procurement things related to you from time to time. So this time we talk a bit more technical. So we talk about blockchain and big data. So today we have a couple good speakers for us to share their insight, talk with us about the trend coming up. So, but before that, I know some of you may, but some of you may not know what hktdc.com sourcing means to you. So here is a very brief introduction of us. We are Hong Kong Trade Development Council, and we have over 15 years history of doing the global trade, supporting the small and middle-sized enterprise to connect with the all the business users around the world to do the trading, to do the sourcing, and we also have over 15 offices around the world to connecting people not just in Hong Kong or in Greater China, but also with people from different continents to do the business, to do the sourcing from altogether. In the past few years, we all know that we are a bit disconnected. We also know digital has been booming for quite a long time. So in this year, we introduced a new idea of sourcing, which is called the Exhibition Plus. It's a brand new hybrid model that including online and offline solutions together. So you can find your buyers, find your suppliers anytime, anywhere through our Exhibition Plus channel platform. We have our physical exhibitions, over 30 a year. We have a smart business matching platform called the Click to Match that you can schedule meetings. You can find your business partner through our platform, through online, and schedule a meeting and have a meeting over there. We also have a platform called the Intelligence Hub. It is an online and offline seminar and conference site that you can be with us offline, and also you can join us our conferences and seminars online as well. And then after our fairs, there's a continuity of that. We have our hktdc.com sourcing platform as a 24/7 hub for you to do the sourcing from time to time. It's a trusted online marketplace that you can find your buyers and suppliers through in mainland China, Asia, and the rest of the world. We have over 2 million buyers from time to time, registered buyers. We have over 130,000 suppliers, and every year we are making over 24 million business connections to connecting the buyers and suppliers across the world. If you want to know more about us, just go to visit our site, sourcing.hktdc.com, then you can see more about us and source what you are looking for. And we know that sometimes, apart from looking for your things for sourcing, you want to know more about what's the sourcing trend. Today, we are talking about that through our webinar, but we also have our recording and other thought leaders articles in our website called the News Spice. The News Spice website is like a board. It's an information hub to posting most of the latest trends about sourcing and business over there. You can find what you want to know. If you want to hear our webinar recording or other articles from our thought leaders, just come to us to take a look on that. So we have a lot of things there. Scan the QR code, then you will know where we are, and here is our URL. That's a very brief introduction of our platform, but I also want to introduce one more thing in December. That is a Green Innovation Carbon Neutrality. It is an Eco Expo Asia Conference by HKTDC, and it will be hosted in mid-December, 14th to 17th of December. It is a conference about green economy It was about eco-friendly, environmental industry. It's about technology, green products, and solutions. That's organized by Hong Kong Trade Development Council, Visual Framework, and also co-organized by the Environment and Ecology Bureau of HKSA, our government. Previously we talked about exhibition plus, and for this Eco Expo, you can also do it online, offline. You can go to the venue in Hong Kong during 14th to 17th. And if you are in overseas, you can also join with us through the Exhibition Plus platform, through the Kit to Match matching platform, and also the Intelligence Hub to get to know the latest trend about carbon neutrality, new energy, green finance, and other green initiatives. We have our startup zone and also have our Eco Asia conferences there to share the latest things and connect people about the ecosystems over here, about the about environmental industry over there. Okay, that's a very brief introduction of what we're going on. So we get back to the topic today. We are very happy to have two speakers with us. We have Ivy from Freight Amigo, which is she has a lot of experience on the logistics and cloud services and how to apply ICT on the supply chain. And also we have Bertie Chan, the CEO of Global Shipping Business Network. It is independent, non-profit, making technology consortium for reimagining global trade. And today we have Louis from HKTDC Research, our principal economist, to be the facilitator and moderator of our discussion today. So today we have a couple of speakers there. So I pass the time to Louis for you to help us to facilitate this discussion today. Okay, it's your time, Louis. Thank you.
So thank you, Lenny. Welcome everyone. Thank you for taking time out and joining us today for this panel, Blockchain in Supply Chain and Outlook 2023. This is Louis Chen at HKTDC Research, and I will be your moderator today. Now, everybody knows that the global pandemic and the ensuing supply chain chaos have exposed the fact that the worldwide logistic industry does not have the transparency and traceability to make cross-border shipments sufficiently seamless and efficient. Most global businesses have accelerated their adoption of technology to get through the pandemic, and the hard-hit logistics industry has similarly embraced digital technologies to improve its resilience. Now, today with me are Bertrand of GSBN and Ivy of Freight Amigo. Both are pioneers spearheading digital transformation in the logistics and trade finance market. To waste no time, let me begin proceedings by posing the first questions to our panelists. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has prolonged global supply chain disruptions. How far the emerging technology solutions such as blockchain, AI, and machine learning can help relieve the pain and upkeep the supply chain resilience, and more importantly, the cash flows of businesses now and going forward. Bertrand, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Louis, for this question. Thanks to HKDDC for giving me the opportunity to speak to all of you today. Yes, I think the question you raised is very pertinent right now. We just went through 3 years of COVID-19 crisis, and the least thing we can say is supply chain was disrupted. Now we are seeing, after 3 years, freight rates going much higher, now dropping down much lower, and anybody's guess what happen over the next 2-3 years with more and more supply of ships hitting the shipping lines, right? What we see actually from technology is blockchain actually can help, but unfortunately the disruption is coming from things that doesn't purely has to do with technology. Is the supply demand, is the market structure of the shipping industry, is also the physical infrastructure in different locations. In US, for instance, where you have a certain practice with terminal operator and how they move goods, where you had actually very, very heavy congestion in Long Beach, for instance. And also structurally, physically, when you have big change in terms of demand, where you have actually over ordering and now under ordering, you have a massive difference in flow. And that actually something that, unfortunately, even you have the best AI model, best blockchain technology cannot be resolved. However, what we see is hopefully next year and the next few years, we start to see normalization of trade flow and behavior. And one thing that has happened with the last 3 years, which is quite hopeful, is we see a kind of big gap towards digitization, big jump towards digitization. And actually that's the case for a lot of industry, but for shipping industry even more. I think over the last 20 years, the shipping industry tried to digitize, but they will always kind of hold back and say, why do we have to do it? But at least for 2 reasons now, we're seeing a lot of change. So for instance, in United States, after disruption that we see at the terminal congestion, the government start to say, hey, you need to start to report detention, demurrage, you need to have more visibility to fees, how you charge those fees, and mean better type of sharing of data. Another thing we're seeing also is moving towards more paperless shipping. So I know for a lot of the audience here, probably don't care as much of the shipping industry, the shipping line and the terminal operator, but something that impacts you on a daily basis. Today, you still actually use so much paper to proceed on shipment, right? And if the paper get lost and things like that, that impacts your flow. Potentially can get financing if there's some error, later credit doesn't work, it's an error in your bill of lading, or there's delay in the delivery of the bill of lading for the credit. And also you may have impact on the environment because you have to fly around all those courier, all those bill of lading. So I think that's moving towards something of the past, hopefully, because with blockchain, we can start to digitize a lot of those paper documents to be purely digital representation of them. And one example is the electronic bill of lading. So I think that's quite exciting. I know the electronic bill of lading, I think, exists for the last 20 years already. So I think 1999 was the first time it was invented. But I think we will start really see uptick in that. That's something that'd be very exciting to see. Hopefully, can address some of the needs and some of the problems that the community sees.
Thank you, Bertrand. And how about you, Ivy? How can your AI or machine learning empowered solutions can really help our struggling traders to take care of the problems regarding forecast?
Actually, after COVID, after 2020, all the traders or any stakeholders in the supply chain, they all looking for some solutions to do a better predictions and cost control, so that AI and machine learning applications can good for the traders, good for the shippers, and even the freight forwarders and shipping lines to do the cost control on it and prediction on it. So let's say the fulfillment centers and the warehouse automations right now apply the AI and in the IoT, that machines so that they can have a better control on the stock level and temperature control on it. And also there is booming up demand on the e-commerce market, so that the fulfillment center apply AI in their warehouse to do the operation cost control on it. So also particular in US and UK market, they are high demand on the trucking, local trucking, but there are shortage on the labor, so that the automations and AI also apply on their trucking industries to lower the cost and also to fulfill the shortage of the trucking demand for the market. Of course, also we also found out that there is routing shortage, the global logistic demand is there is demand and the supplies do not match, so that how do we make use of the AI to do a better transportation management system and do a better routing to lower the shipper cost. That is the platform and the SaaS platform that we can offer to the traders right now.
Okay, thank you, Ivy. So, given all the advantages you both just talked us through, how and what exactly and actually make blockchain or AI or machine learning enabled alternatives okay, recently available in the market, different from those which have been in the market for quite a while. We're talking about real-time tracking or scheduling solutions which are already in the market for quite some time. So how the latest or the cutting-edge technologies are being applied, okay, in your services or in your industry that are actually helping our Hong Kong traders out, okay, in the view of the supply chain disruption, as Ivy just mentioned, the demand supply mismatches. So if the demand and supply continues to be mismatched and mismatched, then how actually the technology can have, okay, to mitigate or to kind of help companies to de-risk themselves. So maybe Ivy, you would like to go first?
Actually, for right now, there is some SaaS platform to do some AI routing algorithm. So maybe let's say as example, we all think that there is the direct flight from, let's say, a case from China to Frankfurt. We all think that direct flight will be the fastest way to do so. But right now there is port congestion, there is shortage from the labor in the port, and also the custom issue, there is some delay. All those figures we put into our algorithm to calculate. For example, there is a case in last Christmas. A client have a good and a large cargo from China shipped to Frankfurt, but after our calculation, we found out that the fast way, that is, we take the air freight to Netherlands and then through the local trucking to Frankfurt. After we do it, and the result come out that if we make the case fast to the normal case and the common practice 7 days faster than we take the direct flight. So so that come out the result, we save the time for our clients, and also this way to saving their cost and help them to do the duty online. So saving their operation times to do the financing on the cargo duty also. At this way, the traders can have more benefits from the AI.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ivy. Anything to add, Bertrand? Okay, how the blockchain enabled services are going to excel, okay, or be more useful, okay, compared to the existing real-time tracking or scheduling solutions?
I think it's not exactly on the scheduling, because I think scheduling is fundamentally an optimization problem, right? And have to say that with the disruption that we're seeing, it's a miracle if you can predict anything correctly, because a lot of things are unprecedented, right? We never seen things like that, I think, for more than 60, 70 years. I mean, since the beginning of shipping, I would say, container shipping, I mean. Now, one thing that actually blockchain, especially one example I can give in China, who actually had some impact. As you know, in China, there's a big policy for push adoption of blockchain, which is the 14th five-year plan, which was announced, I think, in 2019, 2020, I forgot exactly when. But since then, actually, there's a big push towards using blockchain for digitizing a lot of industry. So that has some relevance, especially in terminal for import in China. So the Ministry of Transport in 2021 announced this project called Changxing Gongcheng, which stands for actually a clear way project to make sure the transportation is smooth at the import. So what happened on that is with the GSBN, we actually collaborate between shipping line and terminal operator in China. So maybe a background of GSBN. Our shareholders are 8 of the largest shipping line terminal operator, and we have a pretty strong footprint in Asia. So we were able to actually deploy this solution called CargoVis in most of the large terminal in China. So Shanghai, Qingdao, Guangzhou, Yantian, a lot of locations. Essentially, it's a product for import whereby the information that needs to be exchanged between the ship agent, cargo agent, terminal, custom, everything's actually going paperless using our platform or infrastructure to be able to verify the information and to give a visibility and full control of what's happening. So that actually really accelerated the process of imports. So it used to take maybe 2 or 3 days to get all documents ready between the ship agents, the terminal, the customs to be able to pick up your container, right? The ship has arrived, the container in the yard to pick it up. But using this, it moved from a couple of days to a couple of hours. So that actually made a big difference. And also more recently, if you look at in some of the cities in China where you had lockdown, right? So in Shanghai, for instance, in I think March early this year, right? That solution made a big difference. So more than 10,000 customers have been using this heavily. In terms of NPS score is very high. So that's one example I would say where using blockchain actually did solve some problem, add some value. Now, again, I said before, technology cannot make miracle, right? we are seeing on present time. It's really hard to solve all the problems that we can see, but we see good use cases actually popping up.
Yeah, thank you, Bertrand. Grant. So another questions that would also be very much a headache to our trader is talking about the cash flows problem. So supply chain disruption not just means disruption about the cargo movement, but also cash flows. So some said that the global trade finance gap is estimated to reach 2.5 trillion US dollars unless technology is properly adopted to cut through the complexity and silos between supply chains. So how technology-enabled trade finance products are going to turn the tide? Again, okay, how do you see that the new or innovative trade finance products are going to be different from the typical trade finance products? So Bertrand, would you like to share with us some more regarding GSBN's trade finance initiatives?
Sure. So I think, as I said earlier, right, trade finance actually is really important. I think global trade is around 29 trillion. A lot of the financing is required to allow all those companies to be able to produce and to ship all those goods to manage the working capital, right? And historically, there's two forms of trade finance that exist. One is what we call documentary credit, which is typically a letter of credit, and the other form is called open accounts. So in both forms, typically what's required is data, right? The bank need data to make better decisions. And effectively, in terms of letter of credit, they use something called the bill of lading. So I mentioned earlier, right now within blockchain, we can digitize the bill of lading. We can switch to a completely paperless version. So instead of actually waiting for a long time to receive the bill of lading, you can get it like within really fast, and you don't have to worry about mistake. You can amend quickly. And you don't have a case of misdelivery, right? Because sometimes the paper is not there, they use LOI, it's bad. So that's one thing that's actually really good help for trade finance because the process is faster and also more reliable. In the case of open account, it's I think really where you see the trade financing gap. And typically trade financing gap is because a lot of those SMEs do not have enough information for the bank to make a decision. In that situation, actually, where we're helping is more for data sharing. So the shipping line, the terminal has actually a lot of historical information about the shipment of their customer, right? They actually have a lot of information. But in the past, they never share this information because this information is confidential and they should not be sharing that to random people, right? It's confidential information, it's very sensitive information. However, a lot of the bank has this kind of demand for it because if they can have some of the shipping information, they can make better decision. They can first off for credit, do I extend a loan or don't I extend a loan? Is this shipment genuine? Is financing need linking to a real transaction or not? They can make that decision. The second thing also is they can use potentially past shipment to build a credit model. So if they don't see as many financial transactions, let's say, but they see how often do you ship, they potentially can make a better decision. But the key thing here is about data sharing, right? So number one, you need to share the data from the shipping line to the bank. for specific transaction, specific customer. But at the same time, this sharing has to be legal, meaning that the shipper has authorized it. So one thing that we built and we resolved in GSBN is this consent mechanism. How can you make sure that the shipping line is indeed able to share? And the way we do that is we build this consent app that has been tested in Hong Kong with Hapag-Lloyd, the shipping line, actually a Hong Kong company called AW Fruit, and Bank of China Hong Kong. So within 20 minutes, they can trigger the consent. Hapag-Lloyd received the consent from AW Fruit, says I'm willing to share the Bank of China. They retrieve the bill of lading, and they send the bill of lading digitally to Bank of China Hong Kong. Bank of China Hong Kong can trust the data because it comes directly from the shipping line. They don't have to worry it's a fake. And also the data is structured, so it's not a piece of paper. So you don't need someone, human being, to go and key in, enter the thing, or do some checking. So I think that's actually a massive change compared to the traditional way of using paper, using labor-intensive way to check those information. Obviously, we're still at the beginning of the journey. The main thing is these two industries that needs to work together. The shipping line needs to be able to say, okay, so we need to adopt this consent-based mechanism. We can send the data to the bank. Bank needs also to understand I'm receiving new type of data that can help me ascertain the risk, and I need to build the right operation to use this data to extend the loan. So we are in this journey to move towards a much more data-driven trade finance, and we've seen a lot of good feedback in the banks.
Okay, thank you very much, Bertrand. And how about you, Ivy? How Freight Amigo is using technology to help your clients optimize the management of working capital and liquidity in their supply chain?
Actually, it's just like Bertrand's sharing. For the point of view, how to improve the cash flow for the MSME, it must be have a co-relationship with the logistic flow, that means the cargo flow and the information flow. How we can digitalize those two parts, and then from this point of view, we digitize all the logistic flow and information flow. It will make easy and for the bank and financial institutes to do the financing for the SME to on the release their cash flow for them, so that from our role, Faramigo, that yes, we do the digitization on the shipment documents and all make it as a trust status to the financial institution to review as what we sharing, do the technology to make it easier for the traders to apply the trade finance, and the financial institutions can get the dynamic data on the logistic record, so that they no more just depends on the annual report, though those may be past history to do the risk management. Right now they can use the dynamic data, which is what the traders really do, the trading parties, the let's say for the cargo value and what kind of the cargo inside really in it, on their origins and destinations, those informations, and all on the trust environment, so that no matters the traders, no matters the buyers, and the financial institutions can easily get those information and do the decisions on the trade finance.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ivy. So when it comes to data, when it comes to trade finance, when it comes to money, then things can get really complex, and as much as the modern supply chain, especially when it comes to international trade. Different countries and economies usually have their own customs procedures and documentation requirements, and it is not uncommon to have trade conflicts or different compliance problems. So, from your experience, how bad technologies can really take or are taking care of these potential problems, especially when there are lots of sensitive data, okay, moving here and there throughout the supply chain. So anything from you, Ivy?
Actually, for the custom and also the, for example, the dangerous goods, how to handle it for the carriers. Also, right now we can apply in the industry. We can do some digital scanning on it, and also to digitalize on the documentations, and also do the predictions on the traders' practice to do some risk management on their data. Is it true? How many percentage they are providing that is true, and also how to forecast to calculate, maybe let's say to calculate the cargo value. Is it really 100% that is fit to the volume and what they declare, so that we do some calculation on it and prediction on it to recommend the traders how to handle the custom in the good way, and also for based on their trade record, we can calculate their declaration, how the trust level on their declarations.
All right, Bertrand, anything to add?
Yeah, I think the trade, as you said, right, it's quite complex, and it's very different region. Operationally is different. Forget about customs. Operationally, the terminal, the shipping, and how to operate also is very different, right? So the way we try to address it at GSBN is we try to provide our blockchain network as a sort of an infrastructure, common infrastructure. The data schema, to the extent we can, we try to standardize it. However, when you start to apply those products in different locations, you have to be cognizant that they have different solution, different way to do things, the process are different, right? I need to partner with different entity in every location. In some short, we have to say you have to localize. And you can actually see the same for the technology vendor, right? So if someone does a custom declaration in some country, typically they have kind of a monopoly. And then what happens, you have technology companies such as, let's say, CargoWise, WiseTech, right? Just go buy up all of those different declaration system, and then they have sort of a monopoly, right? So this kind of play, you see, it's quite common. The way we work right now is we try to partner in every location with where we think the local community that people are using, because we see the blockchain as kind of the intermediary to exchange information in the most efficient manner. Also, the more compliant to the regulation. So one thing you may not be aware is there are now more and more new data regulation around data exchange between different locations. So for very simply, if you have data in China, can you send data outside China or not? If you have data in some other country in Europe, can you leave Europe? Right. So I think people are very conscious with GDPR, privacy law, but data, business data actually now become more and more critical. So for instance, if you have data from terminal in China, you cannot leave China. It has to actually remain in China because the data is considered critical infrastructure data. And for custom, for other things, it's similar. So the way we see it right now is more and more people want to build solutions that address their needs in different locations with different jurisdiction, with different regimen. But at the same time, you need this kind of common infrastructure. If you will, it's like the bottom layer to be able to allow those transmission, and people can trust the data is being exchanged and it's compliant with the regulation. So that's one problem that we try to address. Address the issue of all the different locations. It's impossible. It's not one company can do it, right? So every location, and then that's why you have so many freight forward to help the customer, the buyer seller to handle this, right? That's why there's a job for them, for so many freight forwarders, because location based, you have different way to do things. But hopefully with our technology as a bottom layer, we can actually make the data components be as standardized as possible. That's our goal.
Okay, thank you, Bertrand. So the value proposition you two just shared sounds very enticing, but how actually are these technologies accessible and applicable, okay, to SMEs? Okay, I already see some questions from the audience saying that, okay, we would like to use more technologies to optimize and to make our operation easy, but it seems that not everybody, okay, in the supply chain, or maybe some freight forwarders, okay, they are pretty reluctant to change their stay quote. how do you see, how do you rate the readiness and receptiveness of Hong Kong logistics service provider and also SMEs, okay, in the adoption of technologies? So maybe this time, Ivy, okay, you want to share your experience first?
Actually, from some research already so that right now there is not much adaptations on technologies or AI in logistic or even supply chain. There is around 10%, and next 5 years it will come up to 60%. But the difficulties or challenge that the top management that is facing is the average cost on investing on AI or technologies that is around 1.5 million USD every year. So that there are hesitation to move to how to transform the data. Also, there is shortage of the technology, IT talent in Hong Kong or even in other country. So come out that some solution that is they are looking for some SaaS platforms to help them to lower the operation costs and transformation costs. And so not even the supply chain areas, even any other industry, there are some SaaS platform to help the traditional players to transform their operations in more digital ways. Yeah.
So thank you, Ivy. And how about you? Okay, how do you see that the way forward, Bertrand?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, Ivy, you want to add something?
So, excuse me.
Okay. Yeah, I think adoption of technology, yes, it's a big question, right? I think not only on logistics, if you get technology for many, let's say, traditional industry, right? It's big roadblock. People tend to still prefer to use Excel spreadsheets to make prediction, to use email or phone call instead of using a web browser or platform to do things, right? I think it's human nature, and the change takes time. And I think Ivy rightly pointed out, cost is also a consideration, right? For some SMEs who potentially doesn't have a big IT budget, and also maybe don't have enough flow to justify switching technology to a new technology, especially that you don't necessarily know what to do. So for GSBN perspective, all main targets, unfortunately, are not the SMEs. We are working in partner mainly with the shipping line and terminal to enable them to do more interesting stuff, to change the process, to make it better to data exchange. However, now we are moving towards more and more offering some solution that they can potentially access directly through web browser. And most of the solution we're looking to do web browser, in terms of cost, we try to make it as easy as possible to adapt. However, the problem to do those web browser is they don't have the same guarantee in terms of privacy, encryption that like a large shipping line will get, because in that environment, the data is very secure. Everything's encrypted. We cannot see anything. And if you have to use a SaaS solution, you have to make trade-offs on security of the data. It's just, but there's no way you go around that, right? So for SMEs, they can start to adopt some solution like this, where we can potentially offer easier to do portal. And we have a couple of projects that's rolling out towards the end of this year, early next year. So I don't want to share now because they're not ready yet, but they will come out directly for the end user. One product that I can share though is electronic bill of lading. So this one is already ready to go. For electronic bill of lading, the biggest hurdle is you need to get insured by the insurance company. You need to pass an approval by the international group of P&I Club, which actually is a club of 13 group of insurers. I think the head one is in London, and they have to say that this solution will be able to insure. You can insure a cargo using this electronic bill of lading. So now we actually have acquired, so we've been certified, sorry, and that solution, shipping can start to use it. So you just have to ask your shipping line who supports right now, Costco shipping line, OOCL, CU lines, use this solution. So you can already start to ask your customers, say, hey, can I use electronic bill of lading? And that's, I think that'll make a big difference. We're hoping to provide more and more suitable product like this the SMEs can potentially use.
Okay, thank you, Bertrand. So just one or two more questions before we go to the Q&A. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, buzzwords are getting a workout. So one of them concerns ESG or sustainability. So issues regarding carbon emission reductions and other climate change mitigation measures are increasingly becoming important factors affecting business decisions, including the choice of logistics mode and partners. So my question is how technologies can be applied to address these fast emerging ESG demands. So what do you think, Ivy?
Actually, it's not honestly, it's not easy for SME to do or invest the hardware to improve their to fit the ESG those factors. That is what the concern on them is the investment and the return. Yeah. So actually, last week I also have a business trip to Europe, and I met with the Germany, those SME. They also feedback that even the country, the government, very concerned on the ESG, but how to do so? It's not easy to do so. So that from AI perspective, matters of, let's say in the logistic way, we do some calculations for the users, how to make them easier to pick the green logistic routing or green logistic solutions. In this kind of way for them to get to fit the ESG factors when they do the purchasing on their logistic. So it is more easy for them to fulfill the ESG from the government or the any point of view to meet the ESG that part. And so we introduce and we have some exchange for with the local team, and this is quite interesting for them. And we find that the SMEs is quite welcome to this kind of green logistic in their purchasing.
Okay. How about you, Bertrand? Do you see that blockchain has a role to play regarding ESG?
Yeah, I think ESG is a very hot topic right now, right? And to some degree, people even react more negatively. Say actually, there's a lot of what they call greenwashing, where people they actually, especially on the finance side, they say, "Oh, this is a green bond," but in the end, the company doesn't do anything green, just to claim some discount on the borrowing rate, right? So I think where one location blockchain can potentially help, and actually that's not really on the current roadmap, right? It's just if blockchain has to be used, the way I see it, is we can use that as a ledger to keep track of behavior effectively. So if you want to capture the ship on which certain goods has been moved, you want to capture some information, what they call, I think, scope 3, about your suppliers and the supplier of suppliers. Blockchain is actually a pretty good technology to use to capture this information, so that later on you can have an external vendor like those consultants who can ascertain the footprint of a company and issue a report. And the report is actually backed by real data, not just some certificate that they have somewhere that they've collected themselves, which you don't know if it's true or not true. So that's one aspect blockchain can help. But obviously, in order for that, is we, I think, have to do more work to do towards this. Other time where you see blockchain has been applied has been for carbon credit, but this one is more trading for companies, right? But for logistics, if you want to really, in my opinion, bridge the ESG, it's about having a common platform to capture this information so that someone else can come and verify and do a calculation. And the calculation may change over time, right? People get smarter about how to measure the impact. And maybe right now we're not very sophisticated, but maybe in 5 years, we know much better what are the important parameters to take into account.
Okay, thank you very much, Bertrand. I think it's now time to open up the panel to your questions. So just in case you have not yet submitted one, please do so as soon as possible using the questions button. So I got the first question, which I think is very much a follow-up questions for Bertrand. So this question is, does blockchain technology in supply chain application require extra computer energy consumption? Okay, in that regard, will it affect a company's ESG compliance?
Oh, no. The short answer is no. It's so definitely you will. If we run a network, we have to spend energy, right? Because you're running computer. But I think the difference is it's not Bitcoin, right? So there's no the concept of proof of work where you spend energy to secure the network. So blockchain, and I think when we have enterprise blockchain, the security is not around spending energy. Rather is a group of trusted nodes between the stakeholder we have who ensure that there is a consensus of what's the reality, what's the agreement, what has happened in the world. And then if you agree on certain facts, it cannot be changed later on. That's the concept that's used in enterprise blockchain like GSPN. So definitely energy would not be overly expanded. To some degree, you can think of is right now we think that paper BL has actually very bad paper BL rating, has very bad impact on the environment. Not because you have to kill trees and print paper, but you have to fly this paper all over the place, and you spend a lot of energy on the plane to have this courier, right? If you switch that to electronic bill of lading, even if you spend some energy, computing energy to do it, the impact is like 10,000 times less consuming than actually flying them. So it definitely energy is not concerned here.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the next question is for both Ivy and Bertrand, and our friend would like to know, okay, how exactly, okay, or by how much, okay, or the blockchain technology could really help SMEs, and I think this friend would like to know more in terms of the cost of adopting all those interesting technology into their business operations. For instance, maybe you can share a little bit more about, for example, the onboarding course, if they are really interested in, if they are really into embedding your interesting technology solutions, okay, into their supply chain operations. Maybe this time I give some time for Bertrand for a sip of water. So Ivy, okay, can you share with us, okay, some more details regarding the price of the services?
For me, from my point of view, to onboarding any technologies for the let's say for this topic, that is the blockchain in your supply chain or in your operation flow, the first come out that is you need to build up your technical teams, as it's not easy and it's costly, and also the cloud computing. All your right now all your data is it really ready to the digital world, and so that then later on you can adopt in the AI or in the blockchain that's all the islands connection together. It's for us, and I found that in some corporate clients, they it's also not easy to do so, so that they ask for some, as I sharing, they ask for some SaaS platform or asking us to do some private cloud or private chain for them. As I already shared, the cost estimate that is at least over 1.5 million per year in USD. Yeah, so that as and other ways, so the clients or the traders, they will looking for some solutions that is it even they build up the blockchain, how do they really to build all the related island all together? Yes, that is the point. How we do so, and is it really fit for your company to do your own blockchain? Yeah.
So how about you, Bertrand? So
Yeah, I think Ivy is very correct in the sense that if you really want to build blockchain, it'd be very expensive, and I would recommend it. You probably don't have the technical team to maintain it, and for SME, it makes zero sense for you to try to build blockchain. Now, I think the question originally is if you were to adopt a blockchain solution, what is the, let's say, the operating cost or the capital expenditure you may have to make? And again, the answer to that is you probably do not want to do that unless you're a large organization. Large organization, what I mean by that for GSBN is if you want to access directly on network using what we call a gateway, there's a cost to that. I don't want to share this public information, but there is an annual cost for that, and it's significant. For SME, I don't think you want to do that. It's not $1 million, but it's not $0 either, right? So there's a cost because you have some provision on the cloud. And the way we do that actually is we have different service offering depending different country you are. So if you're in Europe, you can use Azure, for instance. If you're in China, you can use AliCloud, right? Because we don't work with only one vendor. It's going with vendor agnostic. So there's obviously some cost on that basis. But I like to go back for SME. We actually most of the time the solution the SME will benefit directly without knowing that there's blockchain behind it. So if you go back to the example I mentioned earlier of cargo release in Shanghai or in China, let's say, right? What happened is the shipping line actually is picking up the tab. They are paying for the infrastructure, they're paying for the data transmission. And the unit cost per shipment is less than $1. So if you think about it, it's not that expensive. And maybe you say, oh, well, they made enough money the last 2 years, they can afford to pay $1 for this extra digital version, right? But the way we see it is actually they provide that benefit directly back to their customer because of better user experience. In the case of electronic bill of lading, again, there's a unit cost. There will be a unit cost, but I think it's significantly cheaper, the unit cost at least than the paper that you have to do. But then the question is, every shipping have their own strategy and how much they want to charge their customer, which is not really in our control, right? We are infrastructure, we provide the infrastructure for people to do. So my recommendation for SMEs, if the question comes from SMEs, you do not need to integrate blockchain. You can either select to ship with certain shipping line who use this kind of technology where they can provide added benefits for faster release, let's say in China. So most of the shipping on our network, they can do that very easily in China. Or you use some electronic bill of lading or solution that's enabled because those vendors are on GSBN. Now, the next year, actually already started this year, we are onboarding more and more what we call solution provider or application builder. So recently we've strike a partnership with Project 44, which is one of the largest, I think, visibility platform operator in the world, right? So I think they have a very dominant position in the United States. They also growing quite heavily, I think, in Europe, in Asia. So the purpose of those collaboration is we want to actually have easier touch point with end customer. You don't need to know there's GSBN blockchain behind it, but because they are connected with us, they're connected to our shipping and our terminal, then in our network, then this kind of information start to transmit better. You have indirect benefits. Then the other thing, obviously, is with the banks. The data sharing with the banks, you can potentially have much faster approval for your trade finance need, etc., etc. And then the last thing we're thinking now more and more is towards if we can actually work with a company who are typically freight forwarder, who in the past may have to maintain our EDI connection with shipping line terminal. They actually, maybe it's better for them to go through GSBN. Now, we don't think everything should be using blockchain because that would be a mistake. Blockchain has a lot of actually I would say a burden to maintain. It's not something that's that light to use, but for certain type of transmission between the party, blockchain is the right solution. And that actually will really fast track and lower the cost, the coordination between many people. So I think on that aspect, what will happen for a lot of SME is you do not directly need to connect to blockchain, but you need to ensure that the service provider you work with have a strategy and how to fully utilize the new type of connection they can do with GSBN or other blockchain network, right? So do they have a digitalization strategy? And they do need to have that because what will happen is if they connect it to our network, you have a cargo release within like 2 hours instead of 3 days. So which one you prefer, right? So that's actually the net impact.
Okay, thank you very much. So I keep seeing questions coming up. Okay, to ask for your prediction or your best estimate of what is going to be like, okay, for 2023. So just before we close this section, may I first invite Ivy and then Bertrand to wrap up the discussion by sharing your thoughts on the leading trends, okay, both technology related or not technology related, for the logistics sectors in 2023. So Ivy, over to you.
For our predictions and our mechanism to calculate it, we forecast that we all know that right now the supply is quite full in European country. Their stock is quite high level right now, so that the logistic demand from east to the west that is quite slow. Even the Christmas or New Year's is coming, so the freight charge will not have a large increase on it before 2023 Q1. So that there is we can see that in the market there is high demand on transforming the logistic data, or even how to do a better routing planning in the upcoming years, and the forecast on the freightage, so that even the big corporate and SME would like to have more information on that. So as a SaaS platform like us, we can provide the free information and the dashboard for them to easily to manage their cargo flow, and even the planning throughout all the years, how to manage their transportation easily. And so we also can see that from the upcoming years, the trend is more and more the e-commerce would like to distribute their goods and cargoes all over the world, not only focus on the European country or the hot country that we are reselling right now, so that even in the Indias or even in some unserved Southeast Asia's market, we can see that China and the Hong Kong players also developing this kind of market right now. So it's not, as we have already discussed, it's not easy to handle the custom over this new country, new market. So some blockchain and AI, some SaaS platforms could help those traders can easily to handle those bulk orders and easy to handle the custom informations, no more delayed, and so to saving their trading costs and to move their cargo easy and on time, and make sure their cash flow in a healthy status. Yeah.
Thank you, Ivy. And you, Bertrand, okay, your crystal ball for 2023, please.
I predict freight rate will be lower. No, joke apart, I think historically the rate has been really high, and I think we're going towards normalization. And what happened is the shipping line are actually moving towards a more, we need to compete on service, right? The service before was pretty horrendous in terms of on time. So now we're moving, I think, more towards a normalization. But at the same time, for maybe the audience today, demand also is becoming much weaker. Right, so it's a much tougher business environment. Now, for my prediction, technology adoption, I'm actually quite bullish. I'm quite optimistic, because I think the trend that was unleashed by over the last 2 years, we're moving more and more towards a paperless trade, and you see a lot of new, like even legislatively, like regulation. So in UK, the UK Parliament is going to pass new regulation where you can use electronic records instead of paper records for global trade. So that's actually a big push towards moving towards paperless trade. And why paperless trade is important, I view that as a first step to fully digitize a lot of the process. You don't need paper. You don't need to make phone call. You need to send email. Because once those processes become electronics, with or without blockchain, that suddenly the operation will become much easier. You'll be able to collect more data, make better prediction. You can handle the exception much better. Right now, everything is still very manual, very analog. my prediction, maybe not just for 2023, is for the next 5 years. I think we'll move from something where paper is still dominant to a world probably paper is much less important. So what does that mean for the SMEs? Is you shouldn't wait. You shouldn't be saying, no, that I've been using paper for the last whatever 30, 40 years. Actually, you start to use much more electronic. It doesn't mean that you have to go to the cloud or use blockchain. It's just that you need to be open to certain process change that your service provider will bring to you. They say, hey, do you want to still use those traditional way, or are you okay to use something? Go online, go on a website, go on your phone, mobile to trigger those. And you should be comfortable to try that and not say, no, it has to be paper because that's what I'm used to. It's difficult. Everybody has to make the change. But if anything, I think what you've seen over the last 3 years during COVID-19 crisis is if push comes to shove, people can change. It's very painful, but people can change. And I think that's what we're going to see over the next 5 years.
Right, thank you very much. Right, I think we have covered most, if not all, the most important issues, certainly all we have time for. What a wonderful panel and what a thought-provoking discussion session. Please join me in thanking our panelists, Ivy and Bertrand. Much appreciated. I would like to thank everyone who joined us today. I hope you all find it as rewarding as I did, and I look forward to welcoming you all back at some point in the very near future. And that's goodbye from me for this time around. Have a very beautiful evening. Bye-bye. Over to you, Lenny.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the speaker today. Thanks, Ivy and Bertrand. And also thank you for Louis to help us to facilitate this panel today. Today we have a lot of things about the blockchain, and we also see there are a lot of questions that there's still many questions flowing in. So we will keep it, and then we will share with the guests today, and to talk about and more, to explain more about that, and we will publish it in our LeewSpice website later on. So, and apart from going to the LeewSpice website, we also publish them in our LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and WeChat. Just stay with us, scan it, and follow now. And last, and one thing more is remember to visit our hktdc.com sourcing website to start your sourcing journey with us. Okay, thanks a lot for today's speakers. Thanks a lot for them, and good evening and good day for all of you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.